Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, September 14th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here is a look at the ES in the daily time frame, the day after a significant meltdown in the market. Yesterday's range, you can see here over 200 points of range. That is the biggest day we've seen all year long. One of the biggest days, if not the biggest day, in about 2 years. And it all started again prior to the RCH Open with CPI coming out. Price dropped immediately, became an outside day down, and continued to drill lower throughout much of the day, especially in the afternoon, really selling off hard. This is a major move, big time outside reversal, massive range. Again, on the CPI data, the last time we had a big day like that was just a few weeks ago here with Fed Chair Powell coming on and mentioning that the work continues in terms of trying to tame inflation and being hawkish on rates. Again, big day here. Now, one thing you'll notice after some of these huge days that we have in the market, especially big down days, you tend to see a more range-bound day that follows. Right here, again, you see this big down day, you got this one right here, big down day here, you got that one right there. So after such a major high range day, there can tend to be digestion in the day that follows. And right now we're seeing some of that digestion. We're seeing a smaller range, 38% of ADR, just 37 points of range. That's likely to be the range for much of the day. We could see a new push to new lows. We could see a push higher. But when it's all said and done, 4,000 to about 3940 or something could be the day's range for the most part. So after a range-bound day like this, we'll see, do we see a continuation to the downside? That is the most likely scenario here. After you see a huge turnaround, big lower high, big failed new high with an outside day down, there tends to be 1 to 5 days of a continuation to the downside. So even if today is a digestive day, a holding pattern day, we could see a failed new high tomorrow, outside day, and continuation down as this thing looks to return back to the previous quarter's close. That could be in play up ahead. If we take a look at the NQ, this one's also trading 38% of ADR, massive range in the previous day. You can see the range, almost 1,000 points of range. That range right there was 904.75 points. Again, one of the biggest days, if not the biggest day on the board back here. This one's 840. This one over here is 957, so this one was a bit bigger here. But almost 1,000 points, big time day, and very similar again, as we mentioned here with the ES. After you have a huge day like that, especially to the downside, like this, there tends to be a range-bound digestive day that follows. We're already seeing that now, 38% of ADR. We could see another push to a new low. We could see this thing bounce off that low and come back up. But keep in mind, any bounce could be seen as a selling opportunity, fade new highs with a downward bias, and look for this thing to continue lower. So again, looking for further weakness over the next 1 to 5 days after a day like this, and likely returning back to the previous quarter's close here down below, which is very close to that June 15th FOMC key level. If we take a look at crude oil, right now crude oil down about 0.7%. It's starting to look a bit more bullish. You have that lower line that we were looking at before. We were mentioning back here that if we can get one good drop on this line and then bounce, that could be an indication that we're headed back up within this developing, expanding range. And this market's held 86s on a couple of tests, 85s on a couple tests. Right now it's an inside day at the moment, building energy with a short-term upward bias. Again, the ability to hold above the 85-86 level would suggest a 92 target. That's the previous month's midpoint. Beyond that, we may see a little bit more strength here to the upside, but at the moment, got to keep an eye on 86 up ahead. Taking a look here at Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin seeing a digestive day after a significant sell-off in the previous session. This one hit a high yesterday just shy of 23K and ended up right back at 20,000. Big time 3,000 point range day. If you look at it here, 28.25, so 2,800 plus points of range. Massive day. And again, to get that type of price action here, you have a little bit of this rounded behavior. Rounded behavior at the top, so rounded top, but after weakness can tend to be very, very bearish. You tend not to want to see that. Again, it's kind of like this rounded behavior here. After a down move, there tends to be a hard drop that comes. This is even bigger rounded top with a potential down move that could be ahead. Now, the good news for bulls here is that this pivot high is very important. You know, if at some point we're able to see price push through 23K, that could open up some upside. But right now, very hard pivot high. Digestive day at the moment with a downward bias as this thing looks to return back toward 18K and perhaps even lower. Looking at ETH futures, this one also had a pretty significant day yesterday, not quite to the tune of some of these others. This one's been a little bit more bullish overall. It's held that 14K level, or 1400 level, the 1300 level as well, and is just kind of chopping around. Can't really stay above 1800 at the moment, and a little bit more digestion here. But for the most part, this one could be looking at a big time test at 1400 here pretty soon. Again, a failure there could open up a retest of these lows up ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.